I'm a fan of fantasy, so I listen to Easy and Alan on their Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. Now here's Easy and Chris Allen.
And welcome to another episode of a Fantasy Fan Sportscast. And I'm going to welcome my co-host and barely a golfer, Mr. Chris Allen. How are you doing, Chris?
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I remember using quite a few of my shots, and I made one hell of a putt in order to save our skins last Friday. So
one putt is what you're selling your whole skills on. One putt. All right. Okay. I'm just saying. I think we all have room to improve if we're going to, get out there and golf with, professionals. We did get to speak with Mr. Wesley Martin. It was his golf outing supporting Brave Breed, his dog rescue program. And we had a good time. I had a blast.
Oh.
It was warm here in Ohio. It was definitely a hot day. Everything was good until everybody booed me because I won the alcohol. I won the big liquor basket, and I got booed. That was the worst part. Are you there?
yes,
Are you awake?
you were breaking up for a second.
I am? I sound good now?
Well, yeah, now you sound fine.
Oh.
I don't know what happened
saying.
there.
I was just saying. I was upset when everybody booed me since I won all the liquor.
Oh, whatever. I mean, it was either that or, you had to win something. It was either that or, what was it? Yeah, the Heineken thing.
The Heineken. I was mad I didn't win the Heineken.
Uh-huh.
So, all right.
You
We
should
had
have
a good time.
bartered. You should have bartered with the people that won the Heineken thing.
Oh, he probably would have given. People will give Heineken away. No one but me drinks Heineken.
See? Well, you could have got it then.
Oh, I know. All right. Let's talk football.
Let's do that.
Let's get right into it. I guess the big news since we've been gone an extra week was Cam Newton becoming a Patriot.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to be the starter, in your opinion?
I think so. I
do too.
I don't think that they would have signed him with any medical concerns. That to me, that's not even with the depressed cost. If there were any health concerns, I don't see that happening. So I'm assuming he's healthy by all accounts. Like if you talk to any of the medical professionals, that's been following his progression over the past 6 or 7 months after recovering from his surgery that he had, I think in January-ish, he should be ready to go. So it's not a question of Cam versus Jarrett Stidham. It's a conversation of Cam versus Cam. And yeah, I'll invest in that all day long. He's one of the better. He's been one of the best, at least fantasy assets, and even from an real NFL standpoint, he's been one of the most terrorizing quarterbacks for the past half decade. Having to scheme against Cam Newton has been a nightmare for a lot of defensive coordinators. Give me Cam.
Where do you put Cam Newton on your ranks then?
I would put him. I would slot him in probably around for let's say QB 17, 16, somewhere in there. I think is fair.
All right.
Given how late he signed, how little the offseason, so on and so forth.
So in single QB leagues, you're probably not going to have him.
Streamer at best.
In two quarterback leagues, what are you going to do with him?
He'd be my second quarterback, but I would most likely, if I'm pairing him with another quarterback that I've already drafted, I've drafted a quarterback early, so I can minimize the risk of having a second quarterback like Cam. Should he be hurt? Should he get hurt again? Should he not have enough time to acclimate to being in New England's offense? I would be taking quarterback early. So let's say, not necessarily saying that you have to draft Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, but let's say if I get a Dak Prescott earlier, I get a Kyler Murray earlier,
Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson earlier.
Wilson?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I would pair him with one of those earlier quarterbacks that I know should be in the QB1 conversation every week. And then after that, I would pair them with Cam Newton.
Right, because obviously if he hits and you get, a Russell Wilson, and, you might be pretty well if he's healthy and has a good season.
Mm-hmm.
You end up with two top-notch quarterbacks.
Right. But you have to go in knowing, like, if you're going to draft him or not. Like, I wouldn't just let him fall to me. I mean, unless you get him at a ridiculous value and nobody wants to draft him, I understand that. But I wouldn't say that, let's say if you draft Tom Brady, because Tom Brady's going as, let's say, QB 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there, and then also drafting Cam Newton. Because, I mean, Tom Brady, for as great as he is / was, he's also had to switch teams and so on and so forth. So pairing those two guys together doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
Well, we always talk home leagues here because that's what I, do a lot. I mean, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think home leagues he's going to go higher than you say. I think
Wouldn't surprise me.
In home leagues, people will remember the 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
People will remember the start he had last year, when he's healthy. So I think he'll go higher. But I do agree, if you're going to be in a 2-quarterback league and you're going to punt quarterback early, let's see, I'm kind of the opposite. I kind of, at the end, if somehow I ended up with, I don't know, Roethlisberger, Burrow, and then Cam Newton all late, meaning I just thought, okay, if one of them hit and then one is average, I'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of look at it that way, where maybe one of those three get me a top 12 numbers at the end. And to me, that would be Cam Newton would be my, probably my third in that group. If I just wait late and just go quarterback, in rounds, 10, 11, 12 or something. Huh?
That makes some sense. I mean, at that point, because now you're taking two starters that at least both have fringe like QB1 potential, and then you tack on Cam Newton on top of that. So that's absolutely fine.
All right. I guess the other side of this story is that it was the Patriots. That no one else was willing to give him this contract, which was really no money. It just is it that the Patriots are just smarter than everybody else? Does someone like Cam just see the upside going there? But I hear almost everyone is saying he had no other offers, that this was like the only offer. So I don't even think it's that. I just think the Patriots, again, in my opinion, might outsmart everybody. And because even if it doesn't work, they outsmarted people because they at least tried. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of head coaches, a lot of GMs, I don't think for most of them, they don't have the job security that Bill Belichick has like within the organization to say that if he wants to take a shot on a guy like Cam Newton, if it fails, it's almost never going to reflect back on Bill Belichick because everyone's just going to look at that and $1 billion and it didn't work out. But literally, if almost anybody else were to bring him in and it wind up not working out, then it would wind up reflecting poorly on the organization. But but Bill Belichick already has that built up track record of outthinking the rest of the league, such that he can just go out and sign a former Super Bowl contender for the league minimum, and everyone's just like, well, how did he do that? Well, I mean, everybody else had access to the same medical records. It's not like they stole that.
And there's only a handful of teams, in my opinion, that this would have made no sense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? For this money, I don't even know. I mean, is it Kansas City and Baltimore, Dallas, and then maybe it stops there? Everyone else could have used him at that money just as a backup.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago, instead of bringing in Nick Foles, Jacksonville could have used
Even if they brought in Nick Foles.
Right.
There's no money there, so it wouldn't have mattered.
I mean, the Chargers, even though they just drafted a quarterback, they could have brought him in behind him. I mean, I don't understand what the
Browns
logic is.
The Browns, that Baker Mayfield had trouble. And I mean, I said even the Bengals. What about a back? He's a backup, or your rookie struggles, so you have somebody to fall back on because their offense is good. I don't know. Again, other than and to be real honest, Kansas City has no backup quarterback. Even Kansas City could have used Cam Newton for that kind of money. Now, maybe Cam Newton wouldn't, because I don't think all those incentives are really based. I mean, he's going to get paid more if he goes in and starts right from the get-go. So I do think for Cam, it made more sense to go somewhere where it's more likely he was the starter than anywhere else we named. But, it's just
that's tough. To me, I don't understand how you can justify not even bringing in somebody that was that good. I mean, he was still looking fine at the beginning of last season. That's even after he had suffered that Liz Frank injury during the preseason last year.
Right.
So he looked fine as a quarterback there. It was the shoulder injury. I don't know how you as a GM can justify not bringing him in. I don't understand how they have jobs.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think the big news today was Raheem Mostert is requesting to be traded from the 49ers.
Yeah.
I am staying away from the 49ers offense pretty much everywhere except maybe Kittle, but probably not even him because he's going too early. But obviously, if Mostert leaves, this opens up the offense. I mean, at least the running backs, there's one less of the three to look at. Do you see him? I don't see him getting traded, though. Running backs just don't get traded. And who would need him right now?
I mean, Houston could take him. I mean, they haven't really shown like a massive willingness to feature Duke Johnson. I mean, even though they picked up David Johnson, I mean, but still, I mean, they could wind up making it a full-blown committee. That should be fine. I mean, if they really wanted to get wild, that's the first one I think that comes to mind. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, but I know that, Houston will probably wind up picking him up without much of an issue.
Yeah. I just think he's going to be a 40. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anything's going to change there. So, other than that, there hasn't been a whole lot going on. I think there are reports out of Kansas City. Damian Williams is going to be, they're highlighted that he's the man. I think that is exactly the way they worded it. He's the man there.
He's the man. I don't know why y'all keep thinking that just because they pick up a guy during the first round. I mean, it was the end of the first round, but still a first rounder. I'll give him credit. And all of a sudden, Damian Williams goes away. I just do not understand it. I do not understand it.
Well, and hey, I guess people would look at it and say their defense is their weakness. But at that spot, I still believe in the first round you're picking the best player available, even maybe if you don't need him. And if it works out to where someone just a little below that is defense and you need defense, maybe you go that route. But I don't think it hurts for a team that's that offensive to have a backup and or a plan for a couple years down the road. Right. If that good a player is available at that point.
Sure. Why can't they wind up being like Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara? Right. Why can they not wind up working out that way? Especially with as many points that we're already projecting Kansas City to score in if not next year, for the next few seasons, or maybe even the next 10 years, given the contract. But still, I mean, why can they not both wind up scoring? I just don't see why so many folks were eager to crown Clyde Edwards-Helaire like the man within that offense, especially after what Damian Williams. I mean, David Williams had a claim to be the Super Bowl MVP. I mean, to be quite honest.
Correct.
So
I agree. And the season before he ended really big when they were giving him the ball a lot.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I still have, that's my one thing I'm still deciding on my main league. He would be a keeper for me in the 6th. And
absolutely.
I know you say that, but right now you can draft him in the 6th.
Oh, yes,
or the 7th. So do I want to use the keeper on somebody that I can get? Maybe even around later. I don't know, Now, if you had him, let's say you have him as a keeper at 6, do you consider taking the rookie, also, is that a backfield you would want both the guys?
I mean, all right. So we're always looking to win in our fantasy leagues, and that could be a unique enough way that, if you capture all the running back production out of that offense, and both of them are pass catchers too, right. Why not?
Is Kansas City at the end of the season, is Kansas City going to have the most? Are they going to score the most points for fantasy? Meaning, as a team, will they have the most fantasy points than anybody else? If you understand the question.
Oh, I don't see how they don't. Okay. We're already talking about Lamar Jackson having to regress, like from his 9% touchdown rate this past season, saying like that can't happen again. All right, well that's fine.
Yeah, but Lamar Jackson, he got all their points last year for the Ravens. So
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So let's assume that Baltimore takes even a slight step back, or take a slight step back. Mahomes actually, his touchdown rate was only like 5.5% this past season. And I see him actually like going past that, and I see him actually increasing his touchdown rate. So if we see them still at 30 some odd points per game, why not? I would like, if you're going to do that, you're starting them both every week. It's not like one's going to be about. I say you start them both, almost like you would treat Mark Ingram.
Okay, maybe not week one, because we might maybe the rookie doesn't play. There's still that. Yeah. So then let me ask you this, because I've never been one. I've always tried to, I really consider when I'm going to have two players off of one team.
Yeah.
Is this the team where you don't care if you have, more than one Kansas City guy starting every week? Tyreek Hill, and Damian Williams. Would you have a problem with those two guys? Would you have a problem with Kelsey and Hill? Would you have a problem with Mahomes and one of them?
Nope.
So
all of them.
Okay, that's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, give me every last one of them.
I did a mock draft the other day because I'm picking at the turn, and when you pick on the turn, you literally can start with Hill and Kelsey.
Yep.
Then you can come back in round 3 or 4, and get the rookie running back. Then you can come back in round 6 or 7 and get Damian Williams. And up in there somewhere you could, and that's kind of the group I would want. I don't think I'd want Hartman in that mix, meaning I'd rather start those main guys. But I've actually done a few mock drafts where I literally could have, at that turn spot, you literally could have 4, except for Mahomes. Mahomes would not be one I'd want. He's just going too high. All the other ones, I think all the other ones are going where they should be able to meet or exceed their ADP. Is there another team that you'd even want to start more than 2 players? Kansas City, we might want to start 3 or 4 if we could have them and maybe roll with it. But is there any other team where we would want to start more than 2?
The Browns. You could get. I like, either if it's not Nick Chubb, then it's Kareem Hunt, and then insert Jarvis Landry or Odell Beckham.
Beckham.
You could stay the same.
But the issue there is they didn't score that many points last year. So if Baker Mayfield is not doing well, you don't want to start hardly any of them, let alone the 3.
Right, but that's not what you asked. You asked what you
I know.
Want to.
Okay, and this year you would consider the Browns. Okay,
sure. Tampa Bay.
All right. Tampa Bay has a handful with their wide receivers, and they have a running back now.
Carolina, but it'd only be Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore.
So that's just 2.
Well, right. Then you start just 2.
Okay. 2. Well, I know I meant more than 2 as well. I think I said more than 2 because I think there are teams where it just works out that you get 2, and that's what you have to roll with.
Right. But if we're talking more than 2,
more than 2 is what I was kind of saying.
New Orleans, I think, is the only other one. Because you got Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and Jared Cook. That would be the only other one that I can think of that you would want to start more than 2.
I'd struggle with that one because I got a feeling their defense, I don't think they're going to score as many points as they've been. I think this is one of their years. I think they're going to win, but I think they're going to do it running the ball a lot more, and that might make a difference. But I agree. Then let me roll this into strategies. This was my question of the week, kind of. And well, let me ask this question: where are you right now? Since our last show, they have eliminated 2 preseason games. Are you still in the? I don't think it's going to start on time, or have you changed on that right now? What do you think? Are we going to start on time? Is the season going to be a normal season in your opinion?
No, not in the slightest.
See,
no way.
I still agree with that too, especially now with the Ivy League coming out. Ivy League has canceled their fall sports.
Right.
They were also one of the first college teams to get rid of the basketball. They did something like that. I mean, I'm not going to say all the smartest people in our country go to Ivy League schools, but I don't think Ivy League schools do things without a little bit of thought.
Right.
And I think they're putting their students ahead, and they're getting ahead of this to say, you know what, let's not even get involved. And I agree. I think that opens the door to other colleges. And then when that happens, it's gonna put pressure. My problem still with the NFL is their arrogance right now. They really haven't come other than these 2 preseason games, which my argument is they've been wanting to get rid of those for a while anyway.
Right. So that's nothing for them.
Yes, they didn't really give up anything. But their arrogance of like, well, we're just going to do what we're doing, and it's gonna work out. I don't know either. So that's my next question. I hear all kinds of things, and we've talked about it. What leagues should do, to prepare, blah blah. I'm really going to this season on the 3 leagues I'm in. I got a feeling we're going to be playing for points instead of head to head overall. So I think I'm drafting for points. And I'm going to take, rookies and players who have switched teams. I'm going to struggle with taking any of those.
I'm not.
And I think that even plays more to this strategy of I would love to start 4 Kansas City Chiefs players if I'm playing for points. Right. Is there any other strategy or what else will you be doing if you're convinced the season isn't going to be normal?
I think it's those 2 main things, like rookies. Rookie wide receivers, definitely not. Rookie running backs, unless they need to have first round, early second round draft capital behind them. So we're talking maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire that we talked about earlier, and I'm already in a debate about that. Maybe Jonathan Taylor now with the Colts. Maybe J.K. Dobbins with the Baltimore Ravens. That's about it for me. Past that, I'm not messing with any of those guys. Any of the people that change teams like during free agency, Rashad Perryman, even the quarterbacks, to be quite honest with you.
Sure.
Philip Rivers, Tom Brady, they need to be working with some of those guys, in order to figure all that stuff out anyway. It's just I can't see myself doing that. And
they also affect their whole team.
Right.
If Tom Brady struggles, that offense is going to struggle, right?
Yeah.
So, and I thought that too. If I'm going to do that, let's say if I want a little bit of Tampa Bay, I'm more willing to go with their running back, because I think if Tom Brady is struggling, they're still good. The running backs still should have some a shot at doing well for me. It's going to be the wide receivers that struggle somewhat.
Right.
So yes, I'm definitely looking at veterans more. The players that you're not even hearing. Like Hilton, you're not hearing much about him right now.
But he's a value. He is such a value.
Right, especially now. Because even if Rivers struggles, I don't think he's not going to throw the ball to Hilton. And because they've got a rookie, and the same thing, that's another thing. Marlon Mack moves up. I hope he doesn't move up. I'd rather get him at the ADP he is now. Again, the Damian Williams, I hope he doesn't move up, because I'd rather get him in round 7 or 8.
Right.
Than paying, because I think if you're going to play for points, you want to get them early. Because some of these teams now, the problem with that scenario is if the first four games are canceled and they move those to the back, and then we actually do get a couple weeks of some kind of practice. I just don't see that happening because I think if they're going to practice, then they would play the games. But, maybe that changed my mind a little bit. But what about someone like a Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh? Does that even hurt them because he didn't play last year, or because they played together before?
Right. I think most of their starting wide receiver, like offensive core, is returning. I mean, the only piece that they really added is Eric Ebron, during free agency. So it's still James Conner, it's still Juju Smith-Schuster, still James Washington. I mean, it's still a lot of the same guys that were there last season. So I'm not as concerned about him as I would be some of the other guys because most of that team is returning.
All right. So again, you just got to look at teams, like I said, it just puts such a wrinkle in things where you got to, you definitely got to look at all the players in an area and where we would normally think of, ties or just a few points combined, you obviously got to take off some points for situations where they needed, where they weren't able to be together, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And what team do you see that we would go, okay, in a normal season, there's probably no surprises, but if the season goes off this way, we might say, hey, that's a team we should have seen coming. That's a team that we should have gone, okay, I get why they had a good season because they were either all veterans or they just all had played together for a while. Even though they weren't really good, they had the advantage in this situation because they did have that camaraderie. Do you see any teams in the NFL that we might – let me throw out one that I've thought a little bit about, and that's the Jets. Is the Jets one of those teams that could surprise us this year only because – the pieces have been there for a few years now. Their quarterback's been there. I get it, Bell. This would be his second year. I know they had some wide receiver changeovers, but their defense was getting better. Is this a team at the end of the year we could go, okay, I get how they won 10 games. They were just, they just happened to be together and the other teams weren't. Do you believe, that's a possibility with a team like the Jets? And or is there any other team that would be in that lower tier that we would go, okay, in this kind of a season, maybe they have a better season than we think?
At least for me, I think it's the Carolina Panthers. And I know that we talked about players switching teams and quarterbacks switching teams being a big deal. And Teddy Bridgewater is coming to that team, but he does have a connection with their OC and Joe Brady.
Right.
Matt Rule calls, and both of them have their offensive philosophies are very similar to what was run in New Orleans. So he's very familiar with the system already. And then what's already within that core group is a lot of the returning players that we were looking forward towards last season. In DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, Ian Thomas was making some headway when Greg Olsen was out. So a lot of the same offensive weapons are there. It's just now that they've taken out Ron Rivera and then they've added in Teddy Bridgewater and Joe, who already have that connection. So I see.
I guess my argument, but. Again, to me, the problem there isn't Teddy. It was just the coaching staff. A new coaching staff, I have trouble believing that they can get their system all switched around in one off season like we've had. Obviously, you already mentioned the Browns, but I think a lot of people already have the Browns up there. You know what I'm saying? So, because the Browns are obviously a core of, players have been together. Obviously, Kansas City's been together. The Rams, they've been together. They've made some changes. New running back situation, but he was there. Yeah. They got one rookie running back now. Do you see the Rams coming back? Of the Rams of 2 years ago, or are we going to see the same Rams of last year if we have a kind of a crazy season?
It's probably the Rams of last year. They haven't done much to address their offensive line. They get rid of Todd Gurley, and now they just have a mishmash of Cam Akers, who I think is a decent pass catcher out of the backfield, Darrell Henderson, who they really haven't shown to have much trust in, and then Malcolm Brown. And, okay, so that's fine.
Right.
And then they get rid of Brandon Cooks. Now they're relying more on Josh Reynolds outside, who didn't really show us much in the time that he's been a part of L.A. And then we've got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Tyler Higbee, who basically play similar roles or interchangeable roles.
Right.
So to me, I'm not seeing the upside here. I'm not seeing how they wind up putting up like some of those numbers that they were when Sean McVay first came onto the scene like 3-4 years ago. I'm just not seeing it.
Okay. Well, the other one I had jotted down that I thought this lower tier that we go, okay, would be the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, they have a lot of old parts that are still there. The coach is now in for his second year. They have a new stadium, a new fan base. Something in my mind goes, okay, that's a team that because of what's happening, I could see them maybe getting a little jump start or maybe having some energy on the team.
Sure.
So that was another one that I kind of was putting with, because I think most people, if you think of regular season, we're putting the Raiders and the Jets pretty low down.
Yeah.
And I just think, and I would agree with that, but this is what maybe could be a different situation this year. And, they're two teams that I'm not going to say they're veteran teams, but they're teams that have been together. There's not a lot of major changes. So,
yeah. No, I think I like that, actually. I like that call, actually. And when we're talking about teams that were unaffected, like by the preseason changes, Tyrell Williams, okay, fine. But Hunter Renfrow still started to show out towards over the back half of last season. Darren Waller was a shining star at the tight end position. Everybody loves Josh Jacobs. That's 3 or 4 weapons right there that have some continuity.
And who's there? But then
they just drafted Henry Ruggs.
Yeah,
they bring on Brian.
Their third down back that catches the ball.
Jalen Richard.
Richard, he's a good football player.
Also a good football player. So that's 4 or 5 weapons that are returning.
Richard on another team could be very valuable.
Sure.
That just happens to be a team where I just think this is one of those seasons where they have a little bit of a boost because they're not going through as much change.
Yeah.
So, I'm a big Hard Knocks guy. I don't know. I know we've talked about it before. I don't think you've watched Hard Knocks every year, do you?
No.
I
catch clips.
Okay.
I catch clips and all that. I'm not into reality TV, even if it is around football.
No, I just enjoy it. I enjoy it, and there's a lot of insight. I like the coaches' meetings with the play. I don't know. I just like it.
That stuff is interesting.
But this year, they're doing the Rams and the Chargers. This is the first year they're doing 2 teams together. But again, since you don't watch, it's a little hard to do. It's like, how can you have a show about a preseason when there's no preseason? I thought happening. Or does that make it even better? Meaning, okay, we're actually going to have NFL films inside of 2 locker rooms where we're going to get to see how they're dealing with this virus. Part of me, that part I like now more of just a person wanting to see television and some information, not necessarily football. Because I think we get an insight that you're not going to see any other way, that you're going to have. And who knows? Maybe that gets canceled. I don't know. Maybe they would say, no, we don't want people in our locker room. Nobody wants 2 extra cameramen and a mic guy in a room that you're already trying to keep to a minimum, maybe. I don't know. So, but that's just another thing that's going to change this year, in football, is that, who knows how even the Hard Knocks show, which is a very highly rated HBO show, actually. It gets.
But how are they going to do that with having to have camera crews and all that stuff around? I don't know how that's going to work, man.
I don't either. Next thing I have on my list. Have you started your your draft for the?
Yep.
Okay.
Started on Monday.
All right. So what is your league or group? Do we know anybody that's in your league?
Oh, so I am in the Pogs division. You're old enough to know what Pogs are.
I know. I know. I'm old enough because my kids bought them.
Oh, I was all about them.
I did. Actually, right. It's not my kids. I have an very older sib. Long story short, we adopted a child who's now 44. He was into Pogs back in the day. So
yeah. But I'm in a group with a number of fantasy analysts from from a number of different sites. I got Rob Wozniak, he's with the Fantasy Footballers. I got one guy, Barry Cohen from Number Fire. Dan Sanio from RotoViz, a couple of my other friends that work for some other smaller sites.
Now, are these leagues picked randomly, or do they try to group you in a certain way?
They try. So this year, Scott Fish, when he showed everybody, he put out a list of all of the division names, and then he let people request which division that they wanted to be in. So then they tried to group people based off of their requests as much as possible.
All right. And you're how many rounds in?
We are in the 18th round.
Oh, so you're doing pretty good. Because I have heard today on a multiple podcast and some live shows. Which I love. We've had that discussion. I'm one of those on slow. I enjoy slow drafts, and I enjoy being slow in them.
Yeah. But some people
the more I can aggravate people, the better. That's all.
Oh, and people are getting aggravated.
I know, and I don't get it. We still have 4 weeks if we even start a season. I mean, you got plenty of time.
That's not the point, all right? When they see if you're in the 3rd round and people are already in the 10th round,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't
I don't care
anything.
either. I mean, I've been on both sides of that coin. Where I think last season I was in one of the slowest leagues. This season, I'm in one of the quickest leagues. I don't care either way, man.
Do you have enough information to fill us in on your team right at the moment? Where have you gone? Where have you headed? What are you looking like? Are you happy? Are you sad?
I don't know. I mean, to be quite honest,
because I know there's a lot of crazy scoring in this, though. So it makes it harder for the home league guy to, grasp some of the picks, but.
Right, because it's like running backs are pushed up in terms of value because they do the points per first down.
Right.
Tight ends are pushed up.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks are semi-pushed up because they have the -4 for -4 for interceptions. And then also there's also you take a hit for incompleted passes too. So good quarterbacks are pushed up. So other quarterbacks are also you lose points for sacks too.
Consistency is a benefit.
Yeah, and sacks you also lose points for those too. So it's just there's a lot of different ways that people are building teams here.
Where's your team at right now? What do you like? What do you don't like? We'll just go there. Give me one of your best picks right now, and then maybe give one of your, I kind of wish I hadn't gone there kind of picks.
I took Damian Williams in the 8th round, and I think that was probably my favorite pick.
Yeah, that's why I have trouble keeping him in the 6th right now, because I think I can get him in the 6th or the 7th or the 8th.
Yep. I thought getting him in the 8th round was absolutely wonderful.
I like I said, I think that's a very good pick.
Yeah.
Where do you look back already and go, maybe I shouldn't have, or do you have that? I mean,
I'm kind of thinking because I wound up taking my first quarterback was Matt Stafford as the quarterback 10, and that was I took him ahead of Josh Allen. I took him ahead of Daniel Jones. I took him ahead of Tom Brady, actually.
Well, we have talked, right? We're both on Stafford this year.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about it, and I still like the pick, but I think
you could have waited another round?
I think I could have waited another round and just gotten a different quarterback later, because the guys that went after him at other positions, like DJ Moore wound up going up after him, Amari Cooper, James Conner, just like some other running backs or wide receivers that I thought might have been more useful, and I could have taken a different quarterback.
Is this a 1 quarterback or 2 quarterback league?
2 quarterback, Superflex.
And he was your first quarterback?
Yeah.
Well, I would also look towards veterans in a league where you get points for, consistency, because it's been proven most older quarterbacks are more consistent because they're not thrown as far. But, they're a little more accurate. They're relying on their skills more than just lofting the ball.
Right.
So have you got your second QB then?
Yeah, I wound up taking Kirk Cousins about 2 rounds later, and based off of, and I was talking with some of the folks that work for 4for4 and do some of the stats and projections, and actually Kirk Cousins grades out fairly well with the scoring system, and I took him as the 17th quarterback, and so we'll see how it works out. I have no idea, but
I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean,
I guess do we know Kirk Cousins is a starter?
Oh yeah, there's no competition behind Kirk Cousins.
Oh, all right. What do I think? Oh, never mind. Minnesota. I don't know why I was thinking the Bears, but that's the
division.
That's the other group.
Yeah.
With Trubisky.
Yeah, Trubisky and Foles.
Yeah. Which again, I have no clue. I don't want either one of those guys either. Even in a 2-quarterback league, I'm not sure. I don't think Foles would be a bad third quarterback, maybe in a 2-quarterback league. Who knows if he gets the starting job? He's had good, good stint here or there. But so you're how many rounds is it if you're in round 18?
22 rounds.
Okay, so you'll be done soon then.
Yeah, tomorrow, Friday.
And this is a league where there's no trading or no anything else like that either.
No trading, just waiver wire. I think it's either $100 or $1,000 fab budget.
Does he have? What is his? What's he set up for to prepare for any strange things going on for the season?
I haven't heard, to be quite honest.
Okay,
he's going to send out an email once most of the drafts are done, and that should probably be within the next couple of weeks. And he's probably, I would assume, he's waiting on more information from the league to figure out, if there's what we're going to do if the season's postponed.
I just think I would want that information before I draft. Like we said earlier, if we're drafting knowing, okay, if everything messes up, we're going to go by points instead of head-to-head, then I'd want to know that. But as long as you're all drafted under the same circumstances, I guess it's still technically equal. But
right,
I definitely right now, any draft I'm in right now, I'm going to consider that in my mind, I'm going to consider that the season's not going to work well. I want early players. I want people starting quick. I want to go that route. So, all right, that's pretty exciting. The other thing is, you're showing up everywhere, Mr. Chris Allen.
Maybe.
You were on the couch with the football guys, one of the top podcasts out there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I was with you when at the very beginning when you just started out and, taught you how to plug in a microphone. I still remember that, second or third show when you had headphones on in some motel room somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that so many years back?
Yeah.
And now you're out there with the big guns. You're out there, sitting on the couch. How was that experience? And I don't know that we've talked on air yet. What are you going to be doing for the football guys? What are they asking you to do, or what are you planning on doing?
So first off, talking with Sig Bloom. I've told people this a number of times. If you ever get down to New Orleans, hit him up on Twitter and just ask him out for a beer. And
I'm just gonna tweet him and say, hey, I know Chris Allen. Can we get together and have a beer?
I kid you not. This is what I did. This was last either March or April. We had known for we decided we were going down to New Orleans, and I found Sigmund's email address. I emailed him and said, hey, I've been a huge fan of your work. I've talked with Matt Harmon a couple of times, and I know some people that you're connected with. Would you want to come? Would you want to go out and get a beer with me? Because I'll be down in New Orleans in late June, early July. I kid you not. He emailed me back within 15 minutes saying yes, and he did not know me. We had never interacted on Twitter.
Well, I know you. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, there was no question. He almost immediately hit me back and said yes, he would, because that's the type of person that he is. And talking with him when we met in New Orleans, he's very kind. He's very passionate about we talked about history, politics, or whatever. It was the same vibe on the couch where it's just you're talking with your old buddy at a bar.
Right.
It very much was the same thing. I thought I'd be more nervous, to be quite honest with you.
You were great. I listened to the whole show. It
felt like we were back in New Orleans. It felt like we were sitting at that bar in New Orleans and just shooting the breeze.
I saw it pop up live, because I follow them. I saw they were on YouTube and they were recording the couch. I saw your little picture on the thing. I'm like, I got it. I'm there to support my Chris.
Yeah.
And now, what will you be doing for them?
So that was actually the reason why I took the position at Football Guys, is because they're very laid back. I mean, Joe Bryant, Dave Dodd, I mean, all like NSIG, obviously. I mean, all the folks that like run Football Guys, they're just, you punch your own ticket. I mean, if you're passionate about something, you pitch the idea, and I mean, as long as it's approved, I mean, you can go about like producing content as you see fit.
Okay.
And there were a couple of ideas. I'm not going to put them out here yet because I'm still trying to flesh out like all the details and all that. But I pitched them a couple of ideas. They liked them. So I don't know if they're going to turn into weekly articles at Football Guys like during the season, assuming we have a season. But they might just be like periodically throughout the season, just like little things that I do, trying to get a gauge on how the fantasy season's going. But
all right, so you haven't submitted an article for them yet or anything? So
no, I'm looking for. I mean, right now I'm already committed to a lot of other off-season projects already. But if there are like group projects or just like short things that I can kind of get my hands wet, I'll be more than happy to do that.
Because the Football Guys is one. I mean, we've had this conversation too. I mean, I used to only pay for two sites, and then you convinced me to do a few others. But since I got into this very early on, Fantasy Pros and the Football Guys have been the two websites, and really for multiple reasons. But one, their pre-draft stuff is amazing. Both of them, their draft
software, and all that.
Their apps, the simulators, the Draft Dominator, just great stuff. Football Guys the same way, or Fantasy Pros, I mean, same way. They do a lot of preseason stuff. If I had to pick just one, I think for football, I like the Football Guys better. There's a few little things I like better.
Mm-hmm.
But Fantasy Pros does all the sports. So when you pay your $69, since I do play football, baseball, and basketball fantasy, I do enjoy that I get all that for one, where the Football Guys, they're just the Football Guys. So, but again, great content. I still buy their content. Those are the two I buy. I now buy 4 for $4, thanks to Mr. Chris Allen, so I can read your articles. And The Athletic. I got into The Athletic last year to read some articles and stuff like that. So it's just great. And right now, that's really all there is. And most of us are still, probably, a month away at least from our first, real, live drafts or your home league drafts. Most of those haven't started yet. I think right now, really the only drafts I'm hearing are people that are doing the industry type stuff still. So, get out there and read that stuff and read Chris Allen stuff, read Football Guys, read, Fantasy Pros. Both have good apps. Both are good on your phone and or on the website. So, I'm proud of you. I'm excited. And like I said,
I appreciate that.
And like I said, couldn't have happened to a better guy, because now you know how to use a microphone.
Yeah, exactly.
The last question I have is, how was the Wellers?
It was delicious. I actually, so we golfed on Friday. I was over at a cookout at my with my brother-in-law and my sister and their family on Saturday, and I brought the bottle over there, and it's about like half gone now.
All right. And everybody's
it's wonderful.
It was well, good. I never had it. I have a couple bourbons. Always have a couple bourbons in my thing, but I don't do much bourbon stuff without mixing it and all that. And I figured if you're going to enjoy it, I'd let you partake in my winnings. It was odd in our whole group. All the tickets we bought, that was the only one we won. I mean, nobody. And there was other people that won more than once. I'm pretty sure there was a girl behind us who went up 3 times.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she took most of the stuff.
And we couldn't win anything. And then I did win. The booze one did have the most tickets in it. And then that's the one I got, I won. But I really would have liked to have that griddle. I mean, a kind of a big flat griddle. That would have been
that one too. Yeah.
That would have been good. I put my name in multiple ones. So, it was now the one guy, whoever won the fishing trip, he offered to trade me that for the Wellers.
Really?
And the other whiskeys. Yeah.
Oh, you should have done that.
No, I have a buddy who has a fishing guide business down on Lake Cumberland. So
Okay.
he would rather me, trust me. I've known him a long time too. He's a friend of our friend's dad. If that makes sense. So
Okay.
I've known them for a long time, and he would much rather say, you come down here and bring the booze and I'll take you fishing.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
because Cumberland's in a dry county. So he would say, you bring the booze and I'll give you a free fishing trip. So
Yeah.
I think he'd be mad if I said, hey, I don't have any booze and I want a fishing trip somewhere else. So, but it was pretty neat. It was pretty neat to sit and, we got to talk to Wesley for a little bit.
Absolutely.
I've got some stuff out. Hopefully we get to talk to him next week. I'll try to get with him on times and all that.
Cool.
And we maybe get him on and talk about, how his rookie season went and how he's preparing for his sophomore year. His mom was there, his brother was there. The family was pretty excited for his golf. 144 golfers.
Yes, that was really cool.
143 and me, but we had fun. We had fun. We weren't going to win anything, but we did have a good time, and
had a few beverages,
just a few.
Yeah, so
I was drinking my Heineken 0.0 because somebody had to be responsible to be able to, the two people I had to drive home were not sober.
Oh, I know they were not sober.
And then they got into a political argument for an hour on the way home. That was the problem. The golf outing was an hour away, and I had to listen to those two argue about political stuff.
Oh my gosh!
The whole way home, and two drunk people arguing about politics anyway.
That's bad enough.
It's bad enough. Two drunk people arguing about politics.
I'd want to run the car off the side of the road.
Pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
I came home. I was beat, man. I did some stuff and got in the pool. Now my son came home. I even said, "Take your stuff up. Come down and help me unload the car real quick."
Yeah.
I never saw him. I didn't see him again until the next morning. Next morning, like 8:30 in the morning, he comes down. I go, "Man, you're up pretty early." He goes, "That's because I went to bed as soon as I came home." He said, I went to bed at, I fell asleep after the golf outing.
Yeah.
So
that was bad. Yeah.
It was bad. Well, Chris, what do you have going on right now? What do you have out there? Where can people find your work?
Find me on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX. I've got my first article on how I'm approaching drafting quarterbacks. That article is currently with the editor right now. I'm working on another one looking at, it's basically my intro to streaming for the 2020 season. I should have that one finished up probably tomorrow, if not Friday. So that'll be more or less the primer for all of my work during the season, since I write the quarterback streaming article each week with 444.
Which is what we'll be going through every week, I think.
Yeah, most likely. So so that's what I'm working on that right now. Other than that, I'm in the middle of a high stakes high stake best ball dynasty startup with some other folks. Actually with Sig Bloom from Football Guys. It's like a number of like the larger. It's the Pros vs. Joes. Contest that FFPC runs, but now this year they decided to do a dynasty version of the best ball contest that they've been doing for the past couple of seasons, and so I'm representing 444, and we're through like the 5th round I think right now of that startup draft, so I'm doing that right now, and I'm supposed to do another high stakes best ball league, just like a redraft best ball league, down at an event in Kentucky next month. We'll see how that works out with everything that's going on right now. But yeah, if it's not best ball, if it's not dynasty, then I'm gearing up for redraft season.
Now that you say that, the big event that's always was in Northern Ohio last year. What was that you went to?
The FF Expo, the Midwest.
Is that on or not on this year? Do you know? Canceled. Okay.
Yep.
I was hoping to go, so we have to wait till next year now.
Yep, next year. Yeah, unfortunately.
All right. Well, like I said, you're out there, and if people want to talk to him, tweet you, shoot you a direct message, or contact me, and we'll get your questions on the show.
Come find me.
Chris is always out there, talking fantasy something.
Mhm.
And, and I'm the only one that will question you. That's the thing. All these other people, just let Chris go off. Just let him say his thing. No.
Right.
Easy's going to ask you a question or two, make you commit to something. So, All right. Well, had a good time. We will be back hopefully next Wednesday. And hopefully we have some football news or something. I don't know.
We'll see. Hopefully some good football news.
Unfortunately, I think if we have news next week, unfortunately, it's going to be bad.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, I know.
I don't think we're in the area of good news right at the moment.
No, not right now.
Because I think we're still 2 weeks from camps opening, right?
Yeah, because Wesley was saying they don't go back until the end of this month, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, I'll get out to Wesley and get some time and date information. Just in case if he can't record on Wednesday or be here live, we'll record and have him on or do something. But it'd be nice to talk to him about what's going on. So, all right, Chris, had a good time.
Always.
Everybody, you know what? Join us. Have let Chris know that you appreciate him like I do. And Chris, I'll just let you say good night.
Good night.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.